Nourish My Soul is proud to present to you another episode of Radicle Thursdays, where Bella and Kenya, two alumni from our From the Ground Up high school leadership program, are having conversations with young people around the world who are doing incredible things that we hope will inspire you and bring you hope for our future. This week is a little bit of a heavier topic. We are diving into a conversation with Joey from Above the Stigma, a mental health organization that is looking to literally break the stigma and open up conversations about people's mental health and well-being. And Nourish My Soul has been in this work for a while. We have partnered with Resilience Grows Here, which is a mental health organization that focuses on men and their communities. And we have gone into schools and taught resilience in schools to hundreds of children, ages kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. And it has been a tremendous success. And the kids are thirsty to learn this. They are willing to open up and have these conversations. And once the conversations are had, progress can be made and beautiful things happen. I fully believe in Joey and Above the Stigma's mission, and I hope that you tune in with an open mind and a willingness to look at your own mental health and have those conversations with those that you love. And if you are in crisis, the suicide hotline is always available, and this is a crisis hotline number at 1-800-273-8255, and I encourage you to call that number and follow it up by reaching out to a trusted friend. If you are not in crisis and you are just struggling with your mental health, again, reach out to a trusted friend, a loved one. If you don't have that in your wheelhouse right now, you can seek professional help. There are many avenues to improving your mental health. And all it takes is that first step and opening up and having that conversation. And that first step is going to be the hardest. And I promise you it's going to get easier after that. And we at Nourish My Soul are always open to hearing your story and guiding you and helping you to get that assistance that you might need. So I'm going to turn this over to Bella and Kenya, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and please share this with others who you think will benefit from it as well.
Welcome back to Radical Thursdays. This week we have a very exciting guest. This conversation will be very informative, I hope, or I know it will be very informative, and I hope you really enjoy it and are able to learn something about it, from it. Sorry.
This week, our guest name is Joey, and he's the founder of Above the Stigma.
How's it going, guys? I am Joey from Above the Stigma, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
So can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you studied, if you did go to college, or if you're currently in college, what you're studying? Yeah, just some background information.
Well, I mean, my journey, because we're a mental health organization, so I got a lot of my background from in the field, aka life. Life kind of pushed me into a direction where, you look to see that there's not enough programs out there that truly do care about individuals. And that's just something they don't really teach you in school. But I am currently taking just a few online classes just to work on my psychology degree because, just the more you know, the better prepared you are. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. And yeah.
So how did you start Above the Stigma? Like what kind of encouraged you to start it, and how was that process from like your initial idea for or turning it into the organization that it is today?
Well, we were actually supposed to just be a mental health blog, and that's kind of where I started because I had been through a few traumatic events throughout my life, and dealing with anxiety, depression, PTSD, and bipolar type 1. Life gets hard sometimes. So throughout the entire experience so I decided to share one of my traumatic experiences, and that was just me introducing a vlog. And from there, it gave me the courage to share another story. And I kept finding that the more I was willing to share my stories and own my stories, the stronger I was feeling. Well, it wasn't very long after I put the videos up, there was about, I want to say about 100 people ended up reaching out, sharing their stories. And back in just seeing all these different stories, it caused a change where you look and you understand that a lot of people aren't able to talk about the hard stuff, whether it be in their own household, with their families, friends, within their race, religion, their backgrounds, because from generation to generation, it's just not been talked of. And we do have a few advocates that are actually out of country. So over there, mental health is seen as a American problem. And that's where we have so much work to do. But the more I was getting these stories in, I knew that something had to be done. And so that then brought on, a depressive episode. I got pretty sad, just getting all these stories in and not knowing what to do. But, I got the help that I needed to kind of work through it. And sitting back, you realize that these things aren't going to just bring themselves. The change isn't going to cause itself. And you identify a problem, and you may not have all the answers when you want to start something, whether it be your own business or want to go after a job that you're applying for, or go to that grad school, or whatever your pursuit is. You just have to know that you're going to do everything and anything to make sure that your mission is succeeded. And so I got a board of directors together, and I just said, hey, I want us to make a safe place. I want us to be something that every single one of us needed at one point in our life or another. Because too often when we get into those dark places, we don't often talk to others. It usually turns into us going into our rooms or isolating ourselves and being alone with our own emotions, because we feel like that's the only option. And if we just had one person reach out, that honestly can save your life, because that's all it takes. It takes one action. It takes one thing. And yeah, since then, we've really made that our mission, and we have saved a few lives. And I'm very, very happy that the people that I've had the opportunity to meet, the people I've had an opportunity to talk with, those that have shared their stories, that's what this whole thing's about. And yeah, so that's kind of where we came from. And from there, we've just been growing. We're working on programs to get incorporated into schools, because most mental illnesses are onset by the age of 14. And a lot of life can happen before the age of 18. So that's really one of my bigger missions, to make sure that mental health is taken seriously and put into the schools, because that's where it starts.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know for me, I have anxiety, depression, and OCD. And for me, it was really, really hard to kind of simply to talk about. There are a couple factors. One, my family's religious. And so the saying's kind of like, oh, Jesus will heal everything, which that's a debatable topic. But, and then like, I know mental health in families and people of color is just, again, like insanely taboo. And so for me, I was just kind of constantly going in a downward spiral. And then, like, it's crazy how much just talking to one person can really change everything and just completely, like, literally change your life. And so for you guys to offer that to others is amazing. So.
But yeah, no, that's 100%. And that's why I love the diversity of our advocates as well, because we actually started as a men's mental health organization, because in the beginning I could only speak to one side. In the beginning I could only speak to one story, and that's mine. And from there, like, that lasted literally about like 3 months, and I was listening in the safe space for about 80% female. And there's no turning away people that find a safe place in you. And on one of our board meetings, I was like, look, hey, I know we've been going in a certain direction, but this isn't it. This isn't the only people that need a safe place. Men aren't the only people that need a voice or need a place to find their voice. And yeah, so we opened it up for everyone, but bringing in all shapes, forms of life together, where now my story may not sit with Kenya, but Jasmine might sit with Kenya, or you might relate more to Dave, or like we have about 50 advocates right now that are all over the US. We have like 2 in Europe, 1 in Australia, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Algeria, and 1 in the Philippines. I don't know how everyone was hearing about it outside of word of mouth or just seeing it somewhere, but we're not turning away people either, because if you're passionate about mental health and you want to take a stand, yeah, and we'll back you up 100%, because it starts here, but we really have a lot of work to get through, because it's not just that, but then we have to go with trying to get low-income communities the mental health care that they truly deserve, because there's a huge percentage of the population that just can't get it. They may even acknowledge it, they may talk about it to other people, but they can't afford a therapist. There is no mental health resources near them. And that's where, yeah, it starts with us opening up, but we have a lot of work to do. And my gigantic board of ideas is getting worked on every single day. And so, yeah, I appreciate you opening up about where you've been.
Well, I would just like to say, I like how you guys started, or your foundation where you build off of was with men's mental health, because I feel like that's so like under talked about and underrepresented and in general within the mental health community. Because then you play into factors of like toxic masculinity and people not wanting to talk about it. And even some people may, well, it's said that like talking about is the way to heal. But for me, more listening to people and kind of finding a connection that way and saying like, oh, like I'm not alone, is how I personally heal. So even the way that you guys started off by just sharing your story, and I'm sure that helps a lot of people as well, not having to just pass along their story as well and as an exchange kind of thing is great. Mm-hmm. And since you guys expanded, let me ask you this. Your board of directors, was it comprised of all males at first because you were catering to that community? And did you, if not, or if we know, whatever, did you incorporate, other genders as you grew to cater to more communities?
No, we only had 1 other male, and then we had two females, but it was about, we had a bigger understanding of where we knew the organization was going to go one day. But for our beginning ideas, it was like, let's just start with one. And that idea for me was just thinking too small. And yeah, so we started there. And, as soon as I sat everyone down, I was like, hey, I know all the money that I spent to get it started one way. I'm going to spend even more money to make it go a different way. Is that cool? And everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, fantastic. All right, we're going to represent everyone now. And we're going to try our best to get every single community that feels like they don't have a voice. We're going to help represent. And we're going to find a representative that wants to ultimately talk and open up about these things, because, there's just a large population out there that feel like they're not being heard. And that is consisted of so many different communities. And, one by one, we're finding voices. And what happens when you find one voice? It's like the beginning domino piece. And, they may not know how they're going about it. They may not know exactly how their story is affecting others. But even if it sparks that interest to make someone else take care of their own mental health, or, hey, like, maybe I could start opening up about my stuff, or maybe I could help others find their voice too. The more we do this now, the more we make it, especially for younger generations, where we normalize these conversations. Because every generation that comes after this, we're becoming more and more vocal. We don't like the way things are. We don't have to stay with how things were, because apparently that's not working. It's not helping. It's not helping everyone. And we need to change. The world needs to constantly change. And the way we view mental health was a huge one. And the fact that it was a taboo topic. Why? For me, for most of my life, sad was a normal emotion. And it was something I felt more often than not. Yet I could only tell you about, oh yeah, no, I had a good day. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I'm great. And then I was in the military too. And I experienced some traumatic events while I was in the military, and it got worse. It got worse. And then you're like, okay, well, no one's going to understand my story, even if I told anyone. So why? Or no one's going to believe my side of the story. Because why? Oh, because I'm a man. Stuff like this doesn't happen to men. Men don't get sad, which is terribly incorrect. But every single person out there goes through one experience of their own mental health or another. So, yeah.
So how, well, let me first, the point that you just made about everyone like struggles in one way. I try to really live my life based on like everyone's going through something, whether it may be big to me or small to me, it's big and important to everyone else. And so I try to, with every new person I meet, like to not jump to conclusions and to judge their character, because I don't know what's going on. And I think simply just removing that barrier of like judging and criticism automatically kind of deepens a like relationship that you have with someone. And so I found that to be very vital in like strengthening my relationships. And then kind of jumping off of that, so Bella and I just graduated high school last year. So how has your like interaction with youth kind of been? Because we've seen, it's been going on forever that like mental health in students is just like a very strong correlation in school. So how has your experience been with that when like reaching students?
A lot of people, this is like almost a jump for joy. This is like, wait, I could talk about this? Like, it's not just feeling like, because when you talk to a therapist or when you talk to an adult or you talk to your counselor, a lot of the times and a lot of the feeling that we have is there's judgment on the other side. You're sitting there, there's somebody, and we're not against people getting therapy. I have 2 therapists. So that is a part of a mental health journey that I feel like everyone should be taking a part of. But when you're having those conversations with them, a lot of the times there is a sense of judgment, where when you and I are having a conversation and we both open up about something, it's a feeling of understanding. And we're able to actually empathize with each other, because though a friend of mine told me this quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it, and she probably got it from someone really famous, but I don't know who. It doesn't matter about the size of the body of the water. Somebody could drown in a fish tank the same way somebody could drown in the ocean. So going back to not judging what we don't know about other people, that's 100%, because what affects Kenya is going to affect me differently. What affects Isabella is going to affect her differently. But yeah, we can all be struggling at different times. And it's not about trauma competing. It's a terrible game that some people do play. Well, oh, well, I've had it worse. Oh, well, there's people that have it worse than me. No, it's okay. It's okay if they do. But if you're struggling now, that's important. And it is a priority for you to get the help that you need. So, yeah.
That's actually something you touched on something briefly that kind of makes me slightly upset a lot of times when I see it, when people trauma compare and they're like, well, at least like be grateful for what you have because kids in Africa don't have that. And you're like, well, then you see these like videos and these documentaries that try to paint the people in Africa in such a negative or way. And but then you realize those moments that they show that are like fleeting, they are happier than a lot of us a lot of times. And so to try to, I guess, cancel out your emotions and throw it onto someone else, a population that you don't know anything about and you're just making assumptions on, is kind of detrimental in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's a trauma comparing or what have you, or I don't remember again. I said what you said, but I completely just forgot what the term you said was, but is something
like trauma compete.
Yeah.
Because it's not a race. Nobody wants to win that race.
And it's so easy for to like let it slip out of your mouth a lot of times, especially from where we're at. We're from a small, predominantly white and affluent town. And so it's so easy for us to be like, well, I don't know why they're like, all whatever, like they shouldn't be. Like if we were in down the highway in Bridgeport, like it would be a much different story. They shouldn't be complaining they have all the money in the world. But then you have to like level yourself out again and vibe check and be like, well, wait a minute. Like I can't compare. It's not a game. It's not a race. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then we all get attached to possessions, and you see that, oh, well, whoever has the most must be the most happy. Well, most CEOs are depressed. Most of the richest people in the world are missing the one thing, and that's happiness. So we get caught up with what others have. When you brought up, like in Africa, they may be truly happier than us, than you, just with the bare minimum. And they just people are able to understand and value what they do have. And as soon as we understand that, that's where beauty comes out of that. Because That guy who's driving around in a Porsche right now, we don't know what's going on around in his head.
100%. And I just want to put out a quick little asterisk, if you will, for anybody that's listening, to clarify my point. I'm not saying that everyone in Africa is poor. I know that pretty well, because I realized after it came out of my mouth that people might take my generalization a little too literal. I'm talking about like specific regions that may be a little more war-torn. There's a lot of countries in Africa that are prosperous. So just for clarification.
Okay, COVID obviously has been a disaster for everyone, a lot of people. I know it impacted me in ways that I hadn't necessarily expected and I wasn't really ready for. And I remember maybe like a couple months ago, I read somewhere that like suicide has taken more lives in like 1 month alone than like COVID did in 1 month or something like that. And I saw there's like something going around on social media saying that like suicide rates have been like 2% or 200% like increase, which I don't know if that's true, but either way, like I know COVID has definitely impacted everyone and especially those with mental illness. So how have you seen it kind of impact your life and the lives of like people around you?
I mean, this is what started the organization, because now I had my mental health struggles my whole life, but I had outlets or my healthy coping mechanisms of, hey, if I'm sad, I'm just going to spend hours in the gym. Or if I'm sad, I'm just going to go hang out with friends. Or I'm sad, I'm just going to do everything but address the problem. And then when COVID hit, what happened? Can't hang out with friends, can't go to the gym, can't do anything that you once did. Even like going for walks, that wasn't even a thing for the most part. Like I remember I would drive to like far away mountains just to go on a hike, just so I didn't bump into people. And it made me really have to address what was really going on. And in the beginning, it was very hard to get used to. And, you know, it really did affect me, but then you go into everyone else where they're going through the exact same struggles. Everyone lost what they believed was their healthy coping mechanisms or healthy outlets. And so when we predominantly focus on keeping or reaching out virtually, and we have all of our talks virtually. So we've had to adjust even how we go about this, because we're not going to be a virtual organization. This isn't what we're going to be staying on. I mean, our reach virtually is going to be greater and greater as time goes. And we're going to build programs specifically for those that do like virtual, because yes, COVID's going to be around for a long time. It's not, 2021 is not going to just be like, oh, this is a better year. No, 2021, there's going to still be the same amount of COVID cases that are still going on unless we do things about it. And unless antidote comes out appropriately, and like the million factors that we have to still worry about. And then even after that, who's really going to feel comfortable about going on a cruise? Who's really going to feel comfortable about how they go to the gym? Who's really going to feel comfortable about going to restaurants? And yeah, there's a big population that will go back to living life as scheduled. We've all missed it. Well, you know, we already saw what could happen. What's going to stop it from happening again? And that's a big worry for a lot of people that are, anxiety is huge. Anxiety and depression are huge. With those people that are extroverts, have no sense of any type of outside connection anymore. And it's like you have to just be yourself and you have to just be by yourself. But there's a lot of downsides and upsides. Downsides, it's a virus. It's affected everybody's life, whether it be on a mental health spectrum or, unfortunately, someone in their life that they know was affected directly by this. People have lost their businesses. There's just livelihoods that have just been ruined because of this. But on the side where there is an upside, and it's allowed us all to kind of take charge of our own mental health. And because if you haven't done that by now, I feel like that was almost like a normal conversation everyone's had with themselves, like sitting in the mirror, and you're just like, I can't do this like this. I need to figure this out. Like, I need to figure out, how am I going to be happy? Like, I can't just pretend like it's just not happening. I have to do more. And yeah, that's with COVID. I definitely believe those numbers. And I feel like that might even be low for saying it's gone up with 200%, because it's every single person I talk to, this has been the hardest time in their life. And the worst part is we don't know when it's going to end. So we have to start really focusing on what we're going to do to keep our sanity and find our happiness, find peace, find whatever ounce of positivity to hold on to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And that's the big thing, because then you got people that can't afford mental health care. So just opening up a safe space where people can just talk. We have our advocates, but it's new to our advocates as well to be able to talk. So I'll have conversations with my advocates almost every single day. One will be calling me up just like, hey, I'm not having a good day. And I'm just like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I'm just here to listen. You talk about it. You let me know. Like, sometimes it's not about giving advice. Sometimes it's not about what I know that you can benefit from. Sometimes it's really just having someone that's going to be actively involved and engaged in your conversation when you just need to vent. You just need to talk about what's going on with your day and talk about the struggles. Because with COVID, a lot of people's daily schedules go, oh, well, I log onto the computer, I go to work or I go to school, do that for 8 hours or so, then I do homework, or then I come back home, or I'm already at home. And then from there, I might go on a walk with my dog, or I'll go work out in the garage. Then from there, I'll cook dinner, and then I'll go to bed. That is not a life. That's not enough living to find happiness. So
yeah, before Bella, really quick. Before when you're saying just like having, like, simply just showing up, like, and just saying, like, just talk about whatever you need to, that's been one of the biggest life changes for me especially. And I know for a fact that I probably would not be sitting here if I didn't just have people to talk about or talk to. And I just want to shout out Bella really quick, because she's a very logical person, and
it's probably my downfall.
No, well, in comparison to me, it works out well. We balance each other out. And I'm very impulsive, and I lead more with my heart, and Bella leads more with her brain, I would say. But when it comes time to, like, just talking, or if I'm just like in a bad mood, I know that, like, Bella's kind of my to-go person, and she's not going to necessarily, like, she just has a way of, like, I can just say something and just like kind of like rant for a second, and then she'll be like, okay, so how do we, like, where do we go from here? And so I think finding that one person or however many people in your life who you can have that connection to and that relationship with is extremely vital to just life, no matter what it is that you're going through. Just having someone there that you can, that you know will always kind of be there is really important.
Why, thank you. Although being too logical is probably my downside. It probably gets me into more mental breakdowns than I could count, especially this COVID, when I try to pick up cooking as a coping mechanism, and then that just caused mental breakdown after mental breakdown after mental breakdown because I couldn't figure out how to cook. But it is what it is. I do want to touch on really quickly, because we're talking about happiness a lot. It is okay to be neutral. I know it seems like this kind of non-existent thing to be or feeling to be, but I oftentimes just feel neutral, especially now. So don't feel like you have to be happy and you're failing yourself if you can't find that happiness like 24/7. Like, being neutral is totally fine. I'm telling you. It's great.
Yeah.
You'll probably feel neutral for a while. Obviously, you'll go in and out of these states, but don't feel pressured to be happy all the time or whatnot. As long as you get yourself to that point where you're just fine with being where you're at and you're okay with it. With that, in a healthy manner, though. I should add that, in a healthy manner. And I will say, until you brought it up, I hadn't really thought about it. That there is a positive side to COVID. I think we oftentimes talk about the negative side, and people are always talking about how their mental health or mental state has worsened as a result. And there's so many things and anxiety in terms of just COVID itself and who you're around. And then there's it from who you're not around. But the fact that you brought up, well, it really makes you like, well, you didn't say vibe check yourself, but it really makes you
it does
find your center or your zen, I suppose, and figure out, okay, well, perhaps like going to school was an escape for me of not really thinking through what was happening. Maybe that was what it was. How can I do it or cope in a truly healthy way and find peace with myself and find that neutral place or that happy place? How can I do that? And that is a positive that I don't think people talk about a lot. I feel like I knew it, but I didn't know it, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't really fully dawn on me until you said it. So that was a fabulous point.
Yeah, I mean, with every storm, there comes some type of rainbow. So I'm not saying that, oh yes, so many positives, because it is terrible. It is a terrible thing. But you know, it's brought people to be creative. I love the creative ways that people are finding to hang out with each other. The Friendsgiving over virtual, where everyone's doing that, or the virtual like concerts you can see, the like hands-free delivering on everything. Like, we're adjusting, and everyone's doing their best right now to make sure that everyone is able to kind of get away to their outlets. You know, like music was a huge one for me, and not being able to go to any concerts or not being able to go to a festival, because, you know, like, there's nothing better than being filled with just a bunch of strangers and just music just going off, and you're just having a great time, and, you know, just being lost in a moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're taking up hobbies in ways that we've been able to connect without being, you know, in person a lot of times. You see like different countries slowly implementing those distance concerts for your case, where they have like the little lawns and you got to all be together but like separate, which is really cool. Or I feel like I bring this up like every podcast, but TikTok. How on TikTok, a lot of doctors or mental health providers are have these TikTok accounts and are talking about, here's how you can do it in a healthy way. Or I'm always free. Like my DMs are open if you need to talk about it really quickly as an outlet for like free mental health, I guess, outlets, or how there's just general people sharing their story and connecting that way, which is really cool.
I'm very active on TikTok too, and that's actually where I reach out to a lot of people, because everyone feels really comfortable with 15 seconds to a minute to either share something about their story, or, you know, they find some kind of, the sound that really speaks to them, and people are able to put their emotion behind it. And from there, you can see true emotions in their truest forms, because TikTok, though there is a lot of judgment and a lot of people do face that, where when people are very open, you know, you have, what are they, trollers, like trolls. And so like you have people that are just out there that just aren't great people, that just like to say negative things. But for the most part, the positive side of TikTok, the mental health version of TikTok, you know, I do this like 18 to 20 hours a day sometimes, where I'm just constantly working, and I'm like, okay, I need like a 30-minute break, and you know, I'm gonna try to learn a TikTok dance. So that's gonna be my outlet for right now. And but it's amazing. It's amazing the different avenues that people are using to just try to help other people. And that's exactly what we're doing, is we're just bringing a community of people that truly do care. And because like our youngest advocate is 14, our oldest is like 60. So it's like everyone has a different version of how they want to advocate. Everyone has a different version of how they want to help people. And I love every version, because, you know, if we were all doing things correctly now, suicide rates wouldn't be going up. So we all need to do a little bit more on playing our part in whichever way that is. And like for you guys, like this podcast could really be helping a lot of people. And like your avid viewers and whatever you do in your free time, like that could really be helping people, whether you know it or not. And if it's Isabella, you doing a cooking podcast or like video where you're just like, all right, I'm gonna try to take on banana bread today, and it turns out
cry through it.
Yeah, and but people will live those emotions with you, and when you're able to connect with people on a human to human basis, that's what makes a difference in people's lives. Because people don't like stats 24/7. People don't relate to reading a textbook. Well, for the most part, like you're not going to feel an emotion when you see a stat. It's not a human emotion to read like a number. It's being able to be related to, like maybe how you feel about reading stats. That's what people relate to. And so, yeah.
Just to add to that, because it dawned on me while you were talking, I've gotten stuck on the side of TikTok of eating disorders. I've never personally had one, but I, you know, how you get stuck in those little loops. Because I followed Victoria Garrick. Ooh. Anyway, she's this former student athlete, had an eating disorder during her time at USC, big advocate. And every once in a while, I'll stumble upon TikTok, and it's what I eat in a day, intuitive eating, to kind of recover from yourself mentally and physically, and to kind of keep yourself accountable and how the person is healing through that and showing people. And then I go to the comments and everyone's like, keep it up, you've got this, like, great job, and like the encouragement. So it's interesting to see how that is helping people by sharing what they're eating, so that they're kind of seeing their progress, and then also helping others at the same time and receiving like positive feedback. It's just a nice little cycle. And then you see it on, you know, Instagram too and whatnot, and YouTube, I suppose.
No, I remember, well, kind of my whole life, but especially sophomore, junior year. So I was a competitive dancer, and sophomore, junior year, I went to a art school. And so I was dancing about 40 hours a week between my school and my studio. And just the toll that it took on me and my mindset of my body was so incredibly toxic. And I just fell into this downward spiral of disordered eating that was insanely unhealthy. And so then like dance, and then also I was an athlete. And so both of those things kind of helped me cope. I mean, it was unhealthy, but, and then when those both kind of got taken away due to COVID and like health reasons as well, I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I'm just supposed to like eat 3 meals a day and just like, that's it. Like, it was just such a wake up call. And then at first I was like, how do people do this? Like, I cannot imagine eating like a healthy, balanced diet and like not hating yourself for it. But I mean, at first it was really hard, but because of COVID and because that's kind of all you have to do is work on yourself, I was able to, I mean, obviously like every day I still work on it, but it's definitely not to the point where it used to be. And so that's one thing that at first I absolutely hated COVID for, but now I'm starting to kind of realize like, okay, like that's kind of the role that it played in my life, and just helping me with that aspect of things. So that was like, that just reminded me of that, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Like, that goes back to some of the hidden positives that came from us being isolated and us having to truly be by ourselves, because we got lost in our lives. We got lost living in that society that we've grown up in, and we were raised into being in certain ways. And for you, like being in sports and dancing, that's how you grew. That's how you were learning. That's how you were functioning. And as soon as it was all taken away, that reality check came in. And, you know, I'm really happy that you're where you're at now, because that's fantastic. And acknowledging that, yeah, I may not be all the way there yet, but I'm constantly working on it. That's all it's about. And when Isabella was talking about, like, you know, being neutral and being okay with being neutral, that's where, yeah, like, you know, we're working on it. We're working on it. We're where we're at, and we're comfortable with being here. But now you're like, hey, like, okay, I just know that I have to keep working on it. But that's how our mental health is. You can't learn a foreign language by just going to class. You got to do some homework. And that's exactly how I describe mental health. You have to do your homework. And, you know, it's not going to get better if you're just like, hey, I went to therapy one day, I'm better. Talked about it one day, I'm better.
Do you know that meme where it's so sorry where I always bring this up, where it's that guy slapping like a tape onto the like leaking like jug of water? It's like, boom, just like, boom. Problem solved. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's just a temporary fix, and then, you know, we're gonna need to slap on another one later on. But yeah. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for the journey that you're on and you're constantly working on.
Thank you.
You already know I'm proud of you though. I came up with a connection to food while you guys were talking. Eating disorders, that's a connection to food. Eating disorders, mental health issues, finding your inner peace with food and your mindset on it.
But yeah, no, we have opening up about food disorders too is for the individuals that have shared their stories. I actually just shared one of our advocates' stories yesterday. And I was only able to post like 5 minutes because she sent me a video that was like 15 minutes long, and Instagram has this funny way of not letting videos load. But I ended up posting like 5 minutes of it, and she was just completely vulnerable, opening up about just how some people aren't nice to people, and how much that can affect our mental health when we have to deal with our own bodies. Because of what happened when I was younger, I had a lot of self-image problems myself. And for me, I always believed that I didn't look like the other people. I didn't look like how they looked. You know, we get lost in social media where it's like, oh, like I need to meet these standards. If I don't meet these standards, they tell you to meet those standards. And there is no being happy where you are, loving your body, when all that was happening was you need to look this way because all these people look happy, but that guy that's a little overweight, he looks really sad. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, I don't want to be sad. So I gotta get there. I gotta look like that. And what's really sad about that is throughout my depression, then I got into the military, I actually became a physique competitor. So I got my body composition and my body fat all the way down to about 5 or 6%. And I was about to go on stage, and I just went to the bathroom and I was crying. I was crying because you realize that once you achieve what you think you're looking for, that's not truly what's going to make you happy, because that isn't happiness. That isn't what self-love is. And, you know, that's just kind of a testament to our bodies are perfect exactly the way they are. And finding that out for ourselves is the hard part. Because it doesn't work where I can say, just love your body. It doesn't work that way. Like, oh my goodness, thank you. I am so much better now. I love myself. Thank you. It's just like when someone says, have you tried being happy? Yeah, I have. Thank you. I never would have guessed to try that. But it's hard when you have a negative mental, kind of a negative attachment and relationship with food. And yeah.
I would just like to add, because I actually am an exercise and sports science major. For anybody listening, BMI and all that he just mentioned is not an accurate, a lot of times, unless you're an elite athlete, and even then, assessment of where your body is at in your lifetime. It's not an accurate assessment of how healthy you are. So just keep that in mind. Don't rely on body fat percentage and all that as much as media tells you to, I suppose. Because that's just not the case. There's a lot of elite athletes that have body fat percentages and BMI that are out of the norm, or what is deemed healthy in those charts that those people give you. So, but they're completely healthy, clearly, or a lot of them. Some of them may be struggling with some things behind the scene, but you know. So yeah, just another asterisk right there to keep in mind.
No, that's a great point, because my BMI says I'm extremely overweight, and I'm just like, yeah, how? And
you can get caught up in that. You can see people are always pushing those like charts that tell you like, are you an appropriate height and with your mass and your BMI and body percentage and all that, and then you look at it and you're like, shit, like I'm overweight according to this chart. But if you actually have the proper knowledge, which they won't share with you because there's a whole financial gain and like that's another issue on its own. But you are healthy a lot of the times. You're not healthy. So, but also don't get mad at your doctors if they're telling you like there needs to be a shift, because there's a fine line, and it's not being body positive. I don't mean to be negative here, but it's a
when there's a health concern behind your actual mental health, or not mental health, but your actual physical health, and you have that conversation with your doctor, that is I was a personal trainer for 8 years. So this same conversations where it's just like, please just listen to him. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You went to school for this, but the BMI chart is not going to be the end all be all.
Yeah.
We're not going for that. And it's all about how are your energy levels? How do you feel? Do you feel like you're moving more? Like all these other things that just play a part into us being human beings.
Yeah, the assessment is based off of a lot of factors. So when they're telling you there's something wrong health-wise, there probably is. They're not just going to take into account your BMI because that's, as I already said, not accurate a lot of times. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of things. One, like I was definitely that type of person where if anyone like would try to like tell me like you need to start eating more food, like I would get so incredibly offended. Like I would just get so mad because I'm like, why are you telling me how I should be eating? Like I know my body and I feel the best looking like this and weighing this amount. When I just sometimes, I mean, when it is like, yeah, when it comes to your like actual like life and your physical health, there comes a point where like you just need to forget about kind of, not forget, but like kind of just shift your mindset. And I had to just have that moment of like, okay, these people are like truly looking out for me. And I am looking at myself in a distorted way, and that like my perception and their perception of me is completely different. And so kind of changing that, incredibly challenging, of course, because you live life through your perspective. So interesting how it really, like how much it takes up your life, like counting calories. And I mean, this is the dumbest thing to do, but it just happens. But like comparing yourself to social media, like takes up literally every second of your life. Like it's insane how much food really impacts your life. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I got into From the Ground Up. I don't think anyone knows that. But that was like one of the main interests. And I just noticed how much it plays into every aspect of life, and like especially mine for sure. So what, so you're working on awareness, of course, but what are some ways that you have kind of noticed or are working towards like policy change or advocacy on that aspect?
Or program change within like school systems and stuff like that. Because policy is a little hard to do in terms of mental health, but yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of barriers that need to be broken down before we can start taking on the policies. But ultimately, I'd like there to be either a free or a cost-efficient way for low-income communities to be able to get the mental health care that they need. And that is like one of our long-term goals, where it is going to take a lot of time and effort, and it's going to take all of us coming together for us to make that happen. Because, you know, there are going to be people that are losing out on money, and that's what that comes down to with the mental health field. Well, we'd like people to be nice people and help the people that need it. And so we got to find some way to make that happen. But as for getting into the schools, it's about not only creating a safe space, because that is one step, but also teaching kids. I'd like to see us get into middle schools eventually, where teaching even like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like the first hour of class or something like that, where we're teaching deep breathing exercises, or teach like the importance of taking care of our mental health, like just a little tidbit where it's touched on every single day. Because the more that we can teach kids how to deal with anxiety, stress, and depression, which are the big three that usually kind of happen throughout school, and then you have the other mental illnesses and other effects of mental health that will come tied in with those. But giving them realistic tools that help them in their lives is going to be a big one of our priorities, because it's not about just finding your voice. It's about, what do you do when you find it? It's about, what do you do when your friend found their voice? How do you support them when you find out that your friend was suicidal? How do you find out? How do you truly be there for them, what are things that you can say and what are ways that you can look for to make sure that they stay healthy or that you're staying healthy? Basically, teaching kids is going to be huge. But I'm also a veteran, so I was actually pushed very hard in the beginning to get a veteran mental health program incorporated out there, and I called it the care program, and it was considered all responsibilities and engagement program, because when a lot of our military members, when they get out, there's just some things that either was military affiliated or things that just happened where now stress, depression, PTSD is a huge one that happens coming out. And a lot of that's not even from acts of war or being an associated environment. It's stuff that happened while they were just inside the military. And so I feel like there should be more programs that actually do check up on our veterans, because I can tell you from experience, when you're inside, if you have I was medically discharged from the military for being bipolar at 5 years. And so I was honorably discharged. So I can tell you right now that mental health is very taboo in the military. If you have it, they're just like, okay, not our problem. You need to get out. We're not going to help you, but you just need to get out. And that's how I felt. And I was isolated. Well, for my case, I had to go into an inpatient for like a month and then outpatient for the rest. But it's just not taught, especially in our military, where you're going to be put in a high stress environment, but we're not going to teach you how to cope with it. So trying to undo that damage and really teach people that there is a safe place to be, and there's a safe place to talk about that stuff if you want to talk about it, or just finding ways to cope with your stress, depression, the big ones. And as we get along, or the further we get along, our programs are going to be more specific for certain mental illnesses, because that's important. Not one subject is a one size fits all. So we have a lot of work with a lot of different voices and a lot of different programs to get done. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going to be going. I'd love to see the policy change on mental health care, making it more affordable, because yeah, they've done some stuff where they're like, oh no, we're taking care of mental health. It's like, okay, well, a lot of people still can't afford it. So what are we doing there? And so it just needs to be more of a priority, and especially in the workforce too. It's hard. I've had to leave a job because they didn't care about my mental health. And I'm not the only person in the world that had to do that.
Yeah, one thing or two things. One, I know, like getting it into schools. I mean, I don't know all the logistics of it. I am an ed major. I'm an early childhood special ed major. But I feel like you said, a lot of it is onset at 14. And I kind of don't understand as to why it's still such a challenge to talk about mental health. Like even just teachers, like that's one thing that I especially strive when I eventually become a teacher, is to just have my kids be able to like trust me and talk to me about whatever they're going through, because it's extremely hard. Like there's so much stress on our success as students, but that kind of rhymed. Ooh. But there's so much stress on that, without without caring about what kind of goes behind it. So how you said in the military, like you're put in these situations, but they don't teach you how to cope with it, which is extremely detrimental. And it's like, that's the foundation. And without that, everything crumbles, and eventually it does. And they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, it's gonna happen. And so with that, I'm very passionate, especially about veterans and military and mental health and all that. And one thing that Nourish My Soul does, we have
we're going to talk about Resilience Grows Here.
Yeah, there's like Resilience Grows Here, which is there's kind of two parts to it. They have a veteran like support group where veterans talk about mental health, which is incredible and especially needed. And then they also go into schools and they talk about it and talk about mental health. And it's just crazy, like hearing Alicia's stories about it, like, and the challenge and how hard it is to get into schools is so hard. Like, we tried getting into our high school
they got into the middle school, like just this year.
Okay. So, and it's taken like 4 years, and it's like, why is it taking so long, and why is it so hard when that's like one of the core issues that everyone deals with, but it's just like swept under the rug. So yeah, those I would say are like educating someone on dealing with what they're going through, and then how to help others is extremely important, because without that second aspect of educating others and helping others, you're not going to get anywhere, quite frankly. Yeah.
I saw a teacher on TikTok today. He's like probably elementary school, if I could guess. Definitely like Australian or something. Was saying that in his training to become a teacher there, they were telling, one of his professors had told him that something about like telling your kids you love them every day, because that may be the only like, or I'm proud of you or something along those lines, because that may be the only time they hear it outside of their, like in the day, and how that positively impacts their lives. Like as they're leaving, like, bye, like, proud of you guys, love you, or something like that, which was interesting. And then the other thing was, I can't remember. Oh no. Okay, this may be what I was thinking. My Uncle Bill, and he was, he would get me really mad at me if I said he was in the Army, because he was a Marine. He was in the Marines, and all of his brothers were too. And he's a really strong, he's been out of it for a while now, but he was a lifelong one, and so were his brothers. Big advocate of, mental health for the veterans and whatnot, because, and I don't feel, it's not my place to tell or talk about, but the stories and what it does to people and what it eventually makes people do is crazy. But you would think, this may get a little controversial or political here, that with the amount of spending that we spend in the military, that they would provide and they would give every single one of the people within the military and require them to go and see a psychiatrist maybe like once a month at the minimum, you would think, so that they're able to do their job effectively and efficiently and find inner peace in a not so peaceful place. Sorry if people don't like that opinion, but it is what it is.
You better be careful. You're making a lot of sense. So, no, I 100% agree. If it was taken that, but I also think the way they view it is, if you start having people start to address certain things going on, now you're going to have to, now more people are going to be getting medically discharged. More people are going to get out, which means they have to spend more money training more people. And, then it's going to be looked at, oh no, military is actually causing what deployments actually do, and what being enlisted or being affiliated with the military does to someone's mental health. I was never deployed, yet I suffer from PTSD. So it doesn't always have to be battlefield related, but it was related to the military.
Yeah, it would be a major vibe check. It would make people be like, oh, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then they would have to actually face the reality, which is not happening.
It's a lot of work that needs to be done everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's especially with mental health. Like, it's just becoming like a thing to talk about, like, as of like the last like 2 years or so. Like, now you have like athletes and singers and artists, like people, public figures, like opening up about their mental health. And like, this is the change that we needed. Yes, it's slow, but no change is ever just going to happen overnight. It needs to start with little by little. The more communities that get the representation that they need, the more people can come together, and the more people will be able to see that, hey, look, there is. You're right. I'm looking at. I don't know. Is your water good?
Oh, what?
You just had like this.
You always just like make a face like every time you drink from it.
It tastes kind of weird. That's why.
I
have to force myself to hydrate. No, I wish. But I will say it's better. This may be a non-important controversial topic. What's it called? Well water is definitely better than city water, but it still tastes a little funky. It's been tasting a little funky lately, and I don't know why. But
I've never had well water.
It's not good. I don't like it. Our old house had well water, I think, and it was not good.
Okay, well, because it is controversial. Well, I think it has more minerals and natural properties to it. It's not as well. It's filtered, but it's not as filtered as city water, so it's actually better.
That's why it's not good.
No,
anyways,
that's not how that works.
Okay, well, you do you.
I bet you guys froze for a while there too. I was like, oh.
No, it's just yours.
It's just your internet.
North Grammy is really screwing me over right now. Oh well. Where are we? Wild Ride. Is it time for your inspirational quote?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, look at that. Winnie the Pooh.
Look at that. So, this quote. Oh, go ahead.
Ooh.
No, I'm just laughing. Go.
This quote was actually, I put it on my graduation cap, which making that was a wild ride, as Bella saw.
You had a mental breakdown while writing it.
Oh, 100%. It was a disaster.
I filmed
it. It's on my graduation cap. And I thought about this quote a different way when I wrote it, and then when I read it today. So the quote is, let me start over. You can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you. You have to go to them sometimes. By the one and only Winnie the Pooh. As we all know, I love Winnie the Pooh. But when I first wrote it, I did it with the intention that I am an ed major, and it applies to everything. But if you want to make a change, you kind of have to be the first one to step up, and it's going to be hard, of course. But there are so many people in different situations who, for a variety of reasons, necessarily can't. So whatever you can muster up to be that first person, and however big or small of a way you do that, it definitely makes a change. And so I think for me with education, education reform needs so much, and special ed reform is just a hot mess. But for me, if the change that I want to see in that aspect needs to start with me and my mindset and how I think about children and everything. And then with mental health, the same way. I know how it has impacted my life, and now I want to take my experiences and then apply it to other people, and just kind of be that person that goes to others to help them in their situation.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Regards to the quote, I love the quote. I've never seen this quote from Winnie the Pooh, but I'm really thankful for it. It's 100% true. You can't. We have to be the ones to be the go-getters. We have to be the change setters. It's up to us. Like, too often do we know of a problem and then we just sit back and we're like, oh, someone will do it. Because you know how much action it's going to have to take. Are you really committed to making that action? And for the people that do have that spark and interest for anything, like for mine was the click of my mental health going so low, but never feeling like I had somewhere to go. And I have my mental health care is through the VA, so Veteran Affairs. And so I tried making an appointment, and it took 4 months for them to even get back to me to set up an appointment. And it was like, it's okay. I was only kind of in a crisis at that point. That's fine. But you address a problem and you see a problem, you have to do something about it. It's up to you. And it's okay if you don't know how to do it. It's okay. But if you take a step in the right direction with the right mindset, anything is possible. 100%, anything is possible. You just take one baby step at a time. And sometimes you will take a few steps back, but you're progressively getting better than where you started. And the conversations I'm having now, even from 6 months ago when I started the organization, you grow as time goes on. With this problem that's going on in our world, with mental health being such a problem, why haven't more people wanted to step up? We all are going through it. Why aren't we doing something about it? Well, I think we should do something about it. And that's what we're doing. And so I think that's a great reason for you to want to become an educator and for any direction that you guys want to go in your guys' lives, because it's about action at the end of the day. You're going to have a lot of possibilities and a lot of thoughts that are going to go through your heads that are going to say, okay, well, like maybe I could do this. I don't like maybe. Maybe held me down for so long. Maybe is a dream killer. And you never know. Because when I started the organization, everything was great. Like I knew I was doing something good. But it wasn't until I had to make the right call when I received a suicide note for the first time. And that girl's getting the help that she's needed. And it started with opening up a conversation, but it's truly up to us. And it's truly up to us to want to motivate others to find their voices in whichever aspect that is. I'm not just speaking on mental health. It's anyone who's ever wanted to do anything. Why are we not kind of being their number one cheerleader for do it? Every single one of the people that have come into my life that have talked of starting a business or talked of, oh, I don't know if I could get that job, or like, I don't know if I could ask that girl out or boy out, like worst case scenario, it doesn't happen. But you'd never go into this thought process of what I should have done. Because we bring that to our graves with us. So I love the quote.
Yeah, go ahead, Bella. Go ahead.
Just to touch on that, like we mentioned last episode, if you're in the position, well, we didn't really specifically say this, but kind of. If you're in the position where you're too mentally drained or overwhelmed to start something completely on your own, look for organizations that are already doing it and join them and help them contribute to your ultimate goal. Or reach out to friends if you want to, make your own business and say, hey, you want to do this with me or what have you, or ask individuals or ask around if there's someone already in that position that can help you get to that job. So don't think it's like you have to do it all by yourself. Or you have to do everything from scratch. You don't have to a lot of times if it's too overwhelming. And a lot of times it's you can be overstimulated with all the different information. So it's easy to go to someone and then ask them how to approach it or how they can help you navigate everything. Okay, Kenya.
Just follow just follow your passion. It's not about, you don't have to start something new, but follow your passion, follow what you're truly meant to do, and sometimes it is going to be not going with the tide of, you're now going to start going against what's kind of the path of least resistance. You're going against it. And it might get a little difficult, making that jump from, okay, well, I went to school for accounting, but I really want to work in a zoo. And, at the beginning, you're just like, well, I kept doing this my whole life. This is all I can do. You could make that leap, or you can find somebody who can, even if it's not even working for them. Volunteering is one of the greatest things you can do. And it's the most fulfilling thing, because you could live your life. You could be really happy with your job, but it's not your passion. Now you can go volunteer and you can reach that fulfillment of being exactly who you want to be at all times.
So yeah, I was gonna ask if you have any final pieces
words
of
wisdom
for people who are looking into activism. I mean, you gave great advice already, but if you have any other final words.
I think if you're passionate about something, just go for it. Go for it. Do not allow the people that you're surrounded with to give you any negative talks. Don't follow with what things have been. And the people that you have around you are really great people, but sometimes when you have a different idea, people will look at it as something that just because they weren't or they can't perceive themselves doing it, they're going to automatically tell you that, oh, that's not a possibility, or they're not going to be the support that you feel like you need. So it's not about always having to get the support from the people around you, but finding a support system that will. Because sometimes I'm not saying just outgrow all of your friends, but there's friends that I talk about with my mental health, and there's friends that I hang out with. There's friends that I talk about business ideas, and there's friends that I'll go play golf with. And so, if you're going to do it, just understand your worth and your true potential, because there is no cap on who Bella and Kenya are. You guys can really be whatever you want to be. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Because once you finally fully understand your presence on this earth, doors open up. Doors open up for you. You have conversations with the right people. You're going to understand that you really can be whatever you want to be. And sometimes you didn't even know that's what you wanted to be. I had no idea this is what I wanted. But I knew as soon as I opened that door, I've never been more passionate about anything else in my life. I wouldn't change one thing. The long nights, the mental breakdowns that come with it, the conversations where I'm crying with our mental health advocates, because that's my superpower, is I'm always ready to cry. But don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to truly be who you guys are, because that's the most beautiful thing you can be.
Yeah, that really, I'm gonna let Bella close because I'm kind of speechless, because that really just like hit home. I know I've been like talking to my friends here about like, I have so many, we stayed up until 4 a.m. the other night talking, but I have so many plans for my life and I'm like so stuck on them, but I just don't know if they're the right plans, and just kind of navigating like what I truly want to do and how to go after that. So that really hit home. But yeah, I have a lot to think about. Bella, you can close.
Alrighty then. Well, it was lovely having you. This was probably one of the longer conversations we've had because of how deep it is. And thank you so much for coming on and talking with us about mental health and all the complexities that go around with it. At this point, we will be promoting our social medias and websites and ways you can donate. So where can people find you and donate to your cause?
Yeah, so you can go to either our social media, which is _above_the_stigma_, or you can go to our website, www.abovethestigma.com. Right now, we have our fundraiser and our campaign up for Make for a Happier Tomorrow campaign, which is really going to help us with all of our programming. We're working on getting a warm line set up. So not a hotline, but a warm line. So for those people that truly do need to talk to somebody, we want to be there for them 24/7, because I do believe conversations and mental health conversations need to be had after 8 p.m. And a lot of hotlines they stop at 8. So we're going to be working to build that. It's giving us an opportunity to help the people that need it and to be the platform that a lot of us need just to find our voice. So you can find that once again, www.abovethestigma.com, and it's our Make for a Happier Tomorrow campaign.
Quick question. What is a warm line? Is that like texting or something?
It could be texting, but for more so, like, you can call in if it's not a crisis situation.
Okay.
But you're, say, just having a panic attack or having a really rough day. Yeah, so not the suicide hotline, less severe. But if you're definitely in a crisis, definitely call the suicide hotline. We're not taking away from that. I have given that number out quite a few times, where it's just like, hey, look, I'm not pretending to be a therapist. I'm not going to pretend to give you all the right answers. If you're in an emergency situation, crisis, here's a number that you need to call. This is the help that you can get. And if you need, I'll be here for after your phone call with them. And like, we can just talk. We can just talk after. But yeah.
Thank you for that quick definition, because I'm not really versed in that terminology. At any rate, you can find us on our website, which is nourishmysoul.org, or on our Facebook for Nourish My Soul. Just search up Nourish My Soul, or on our Instagram, which is nourish all undercase .my.soul, or on our Instagram page for our youth activist group, which is From the Ground Up, which is from without the O and then ground up. Or thanks to last episode, or actually it's not last episode, it'll be the episode after this, so big psych on that. Our email is, the email to our head person, that's probably not the right term, is Alicia, all undercase, oh my God, I keep saying underscore, ALICIA at nourishmysoul.org. And to listen to us, you can find us on YouTube, which is just search up Nourish My Soul again, or Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public, and potentially more to come. So there you have it, folks.
Which is Radical Thursdays on all of those podcast websites.
Correct. Forgot to include them as vital part. Alrighty. Peace out, Girl Scouts, I suppose, or Boy Scouts, or neutral Scouts.
All right, guys. Hey, I really appreciate you guys for letting me come on and wanting to talk about a little bit about mental health and kind of what we're trying to do. We all have missions that we're all trying to accomplish, and it's going to take all of us to come together to really achieve all of our missions. And so I'm here for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.